Gets destroyed.
Gets fucking jacked. The Joe Rogan Experience Podcast. This is a special Sunday edition of the Joe Rogan Experience Podcast. And we wouldn't even be doing this shit if it wasn't for Jim Gaffigan. Jim Gaffigan is hilarious and awesome, and we'll talk about him later. But right now, let's talk about rubber vaginas, because we're sponsored by the Fleshlight. Oh, shalom alaikum. Is it good? Yes, it is. Is it embarrassing? Fuck yeah, it is. You got to make your choices in this life. You got to pick your ground. You got to stand down sometimes. You got to stand up for what you believe in. And if you masturbate, this is better than that.
This is on the Christian Broadcasting Network, right?
Yes. Okay. Well, the internet side of it.
Right.
It's really different. It's diametrically opposed. It's like the evil.
Do you come on before Pat Robertson or after?
During, in the background.
Okay.
Subliminal.
He's under my desk right now kissing
We do it
me.
like hungry, eat popcorn. Pat Robertson just came out and said that marijuana should be legal. Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
Makes you want to stop smoking pot. That's what.
Or
it's
it just
it's
shows
a tool.
you how like he's
how
gotten
crazy it
so
is.
crazy. I mean, we knew he was crazy before he even ran for president, and now
Right.
he's like, pot should be legal. It's like, the Christians are sitting there going, I can deal with Rush calling that Georgetown law student a slut, but pot legal?
Or he's just gone so crazy that he's sane. He completely went around like that dude in that. What was that movie, The Mathematician? The guy, Brilliant Madness. Is that what it was?
Brilliant Mind.
Brilliant Mind.
Oh, Brilliant Mind.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Where he learned to
Turned
love
around. Turned around and became sane.
Yeah.
Went so crazy he became sane. Anyway, go to joerogan.net, click on the link for the Fleshlight, enter in the code name Rogan, save 15% off the #1 sex toy for men.
If you're buying a sex toy for yourself, what you're looking for is to save 15%.
Yeah.
And to get the #1. You want to know that everybody else is fucking it as well. You don't want to be a trailblazer in the sex toy world. You want to know this is the one that's people bought it again.
Yeah, you get like a 6-pack of them. A baker's dozen.
A baker's dozen. We're also sponsored by Onnit.com, ONNIT, makers of Alpha Brain.
Oh,
it's a cognitive enhancing supplement.
I got a
nootropic.
I got a new catchphrase for On It, by the way.
Okay, go for it.
Get up on it. You remember like that old get up on it, grab it like you want it?
I
that
do
old song?
remember that, but I don't remember liking it.
That's not from the same people that did the back off or headache off.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. What is it? What was that? Was that something to cure hangovers or something?
Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
Herbal remedies?
Yeah, it was an herbal.
Yeah.
But it was that sounds like it's real.
Well, what Alpha
product.
Brain it's a nootropic. What a nootropics are is there are certain vitamins and nutrients that have been proven to have a benefit on thinking, on the way, and your brain's production of neurotransmitters. It's a very controversial science, and we're actually running. I'm a part of the company. We're running double-blind placebo tests.
I always thought you were
university.
a biologist.
I'm not
a scientist.
I know nothing. I can't even repeat what they say correctly. I fucked that up. But the guy who I'm working with is organizing this whole thing. What it is there's a bunch of different vitamins, not just our company. And I always tell people if you're interested in this stuff at all, just please Google the word nootropic and read all the pros and cons. And it's fascinating stuff. But essentially, it's not going to kill you, and it's vitamins for your brain. And, like a lot of things, some people have weird allergies, and some people have weird reactions to certain things. Some people die if they eat peanuts. The human body's not
They're called
the
weak
same.
people, right?
Is that what it is? Is that how you feel about it?
Like
you are blonde.
They wouldn't have
blue-eyed.
made it through. They wouldn't have made it through Little House on the Prairie. I mean, a lot of people weren't making it through there. But like, if you're allergic to peanuts,
It is a sad one.
I don't want to alienate the peanut allergic people. I like the people that are allergic to wheat.
That's really common, apparently.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Weed allergies.
I mean, it's like wheat. What's next? Oh, I'm allergic to air. There was a movie about that.
Boy in the Plastic Bubble.
yeah.
Yeah, and then
Wasn't
there
he
was
allergic to
another one.
everything or something?
Yeah, that little hamster ball.
Listen, I'm just trying to get through these commercials, ladies and gentlemen.
Here, I'll keep
Onnit.com is the website. Go there. All the answers to all your questions about all this shit is there. There's a bunch of different supplements that they sell. There is not just Alpha Brain, but Shroom Tech Sport, which is the endurance supplement, Shroom Tech Immune. All the stuff it will be answered at Onnit.com. And if you enter in the code name Rogan, you save yourself 10%. All right, bitches. We have a special Sunday. Remember those? When Sunday. Monster truck guy. Not to be confused with strip club DJ guy.
Yeah.
They're cousins, right?
I think they're related a little bit, right?
Is that the music? Were you playing it? Sorry, you
Yes,
didn't
but-
commit. You like
Didn't
barely
commit.
commit. We have
Oh, hold
music
on.
that we do. This to
It's just
signify.
murmuring in the background.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell
The
that
Joe
was.
Rogan
Like a
Experience.
ghost.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
Oh, you did it again with the reverb, you fucking freak. Strange man, this Brian Redband. Very odd character. Unlike Jim Gaffigan.
He looks like a serial killer sitting behind.
Well,
there
we
with
just got back
wires,
from
and
a-
he's wearing a tie.
We just got back from a music video. He never dresses like this.
Never.
We
A
both.
music video.
Yeah, we both usually dress like children.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
but you're
grown
in the
children.
video.
Yeah, we were in the background. It was a bar scene. Brian and I were holding hands and dancing.
Slow
together.
dancing.
Right.
Not really.
No, okay.
We were thinking about doing that, but then we're like, no.
Maybe you should just practice it.
Just for you?
You know, just in case it comes up, Brian. Come on.
Brian, come on.
Come on,
man.
let's lie down and cuddle
be
in case there's
scared.
like a scene where we're supposed to cuddle.
How many guys
Do you
have we
want to be
talked
an
into that?
actor or not?
Listen, to want to be an actor, you got to be ready 24/7 to act.
You do.
I want you to
know?
act like you want to suck my dick.
You know, I mean, not in a gay way, you know? I have to look at pictures of myself.
Yeah,
That's
well,
all.
it's confusing, right?
Yeah.
It's constantly doing that. That's what the American public sees right now. Jim Gaffigan.
Is it also international?
Yeah, the world gets it.
The world.
We don't,
Wide
we're
Web.
not,
World.
we're not douchey. We don't keep our friends overseas from getting the feed.
No communists are watching this, though. Right?
Well, we would hope that they would learn something from this,
That's
Jim
right.
Gaffigan.
Maybe they'll come out of their shell.
You remember? You ever watched that? What was it? Was it the Robert De Niro who starred in that movie about communism in Hollywood in the 1950s and how crazy it was? Did you ever see that movie?
I think I know what you're talking about.
It was
I know
during the
story.
McCarthy era
Yeah.
where they were just accusing everybody of being a
Blacklist.
communist. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and that was kind of like that's what prompted the play The Crucible, which was the witch hunt.
Yeah.
And
Amazing, right?
Yeah, that's
It's
crazy.
kind of hard to believe that existed, just, in 1950s. That's really not that long ago. They were
Yeah,
like
but
going
I
after
think-
communists.
I mean, I think that's happening all the time. There's just larger examples of it.
You think like blackballing is happening all the time. Is that what you mean?
Well,
Or-
I think that we have a tendency to a paranoia. I think.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Like the Arabs in this country or Muslims had to go through some shit because I think right after 9/11, people were like, "Huh." You know what I mean? I'm not talking about just the idiots.
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot
I
of,
think-
Sikhs had to go through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Guys who are Indian, they have a real
Yeah.
problem. I mean, it's so ignorant. It's like, you're not even talking about the same continent, you silly people.
I know.
It's, I don't know. It's, I
I didn't deal with any
Yeah.
of that. Muslim
Skated right through,
backlash.
didn't you?
I didn't deal with any of
not even a little.
nothing. But people didn't even. They didn't think I was Muslim at all. You know?
Yeah, do you think that there's a backlash to being Muslim? Well, I don't think there is if you're like... I think if you were like a Muslim actor, like wasn't there like a Muslim actor on Lost? And it was kind of
Yeah.
a cool part of his
Oh,
personality.
Rajah.
Yeah, remember that was like kind of a cool part of his personality.
Yeah.
Like I think there's been representations. I think for sure the majority opinion is people are scared, jihadists, suicide bombers, all that stuff. But I think more now than ever you get a little bit of a positive perspective on being
Jihadist.
Muslim and Arabs. No, we're not. They're not. You can't
Yeah.
call them the same thing. Like the guy from Lost, like he was a positive character. He was a badass. Remember?
Well, he played a guy who tortured people in Iraq.
He's a badass though. He-
Still liked him.
You still liked him. I
mean,
liked
it was
him.
a really interesting story.
Yeah.
But he did like torture and kill people.
It was fascinating how that was like a part of his life, and that
Yeah.
he was, shamed by it,
Yeah.
later, and it really fucked with him. That was a great character.
Yeah, that was
a-
amazing.
Yeah, that was a great
was
character.
amazing.
You guys-
That show was for the longest time one of the greatest shows of all time. The end, I didn't really get. At the end of it, it seemed like everybody was just walking through the motions. The last few episodes, I quit.
I
My
miss that
wife and I,
show.
we
I
watched,
do too,
It's on.
yeah.
It's on. Yeah. Oh, I thought you said you missed it.
When
No, I
Yeah,
missed it.
No
I
one can
watched it
keep
on
something-
Netflix and paid for it on iTunes.
Yeah, I did as well. I even have the DVDs, which I never buy. I got the Blu-rays. It's the greatest, one of the greatest shows of all time. But and no matter who you are, I don't care how creative you are, when you're doing a crazy fucking show where people are allowed to travel back in time and do
Yeah.
all kinds of nutty shit from this magical island that doesn't even exist,
Yeah.
when you're doing something like that, I mean, after a while, man, you gotta run dry. It must be exhausting trying to think
Yeah.
of nutty shit that you're gonna do on this fucking island.
Yeah, I mean it's it's got to be amazing to also kind of tie it together with some semblance of logic.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, so we're going to go back in time. What would happen if we went back in time? But we still want that one character in there.
Yeah.
You know? So they had to...
They had weird shit, too. Like, remember they had polar bears in the beginning?
Yeah.
And then they stopped having polar bears.
Yeah.
Things
disappeared, right? There was
just-
that foot that had like 4
Yeah, the
toes.
statue.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that was never explained.
And then they started going forward in time. Remember when Jack like had a beard and they were sitting on that bridge and they were like,
Yeah.
what happened?
Great goddamn show. Especially considering it had to operate within the parameters of an ABC primetime show.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I don't know how... I don't
That's
think
the hardest
shows-
job in the world.
I don't think shows like that
Not really, but
would have a shot.
yeah.
You know, Homeland's a good show. Have you
Well,
watched that?
no, I haven't. I gave up after Lost.
You did?
Yeah.
On TV.
So you just don't watch television?
I don't watch anything
The
that's
show
not
ended.
real.
You threw your flat screen out the window.
Elvis the TV. I only watched.
That's it. I'm done. Throwing it.
I
out
watch.
the window.
I mean, it's not a good thing. It's not
Yeah.
by any virtue. Like
Yeah.
I watched Bigfoot Hunter. I watched fucking
Well,
the
that's-
2 episodes I had DVR'd.
Wait a minute. There's a
Finding
show called
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot Hunter,
Finding Bigfoot or something.
and it's like a series where they have like more than one
Oh,
episode.
dude, it's
You'd think after the
amazing.
first episode they'd be like, "Yeah, we're not going to find them."
Well, it's also no. The best part about it is the beginning. The guy says, "I've been hunting Sasquatches for 25 years." You're like,
Plural.
Quit now. Quit now. You
It's
haven't
like-
even got a video of one. You
And-
crazy
That
asshole.
was like, you know, it's like, hey, you know, those ghost shows are really not realistic. Like they
Yeah.
never really find a ghost.
This
What
takes
if we
it to
did it
the
with
next
Sasquatch?
level.
What's next? Like Chupacabra?
Sure. If they can sell it, they would have it. It's a fun show to watch though because it's so stupid. I mean, first of all, everyone has a video that they want you to analyze that may have been a Sasquatch, so they have to recreate the scene in the video, and
Oh,
it looks
sweet.
It looks so silly because the people knew exactly where the car was, and this is the tree, and so they line it up on the camera,
Yeah.
and then they have this big guy named Bobo who kind of looks like a Bigfoot, and he goes out there and he does exactly what, and he's always way bigger than the Bigfoot in the video. So it always proves that it wasn't really
That's
a Bigfoot,
on his
but a
resume
dude.
right now. Oh, I see here you were Bigfoot. Yep, I was Bigfoot. Season 1, season 2, they replaced me. There was like a contract negotiation.
Do you remember when
I
Harry
wanted
and the
to make
Hendersons?
Bigfoot more epathetic, and
Harry and the Hendersons, like a whole family lived with Bigfoot.
you know, why not? There's
Can you imagine?
There's so
these
many
are my
shows.
kids. I'm pretty sure. I don't even trust dogs that I don't know. This guy's got a fucking Bigfoot hanging out
and
with
you
his
know what?
kids.
He probably told these stupid humans a thing or two about love.
Oh,
Yep.
Harry and the Henderson. There's never been a real good Bigfoot movie. How about that? Nobody's ever stepped up.
And it's not like the bar's been set that high.
The bar is incredibly low. The bar is all fraudulent videos.
Yeah.
That's the closest thing to a Bigfoot movie.
And I would think after like season 1, there's a lot of people that watch the show and they're like, why not? Like, I think you should submit a video. And
How come there's
they're
never
like-
been a there's some really bad ones in the 70s or some swamp
Yeah.
thing monster
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
But there's never been a good movie about a bunch of people that encounter Bigfoot. How is that possible? That you have such a folklore that has completely permeated
It's just
society.
not- he's not
but no one's
sexy
ever
enough.
made not sexy Bigfoot.
Bigfoot's
no
not
one's ever
sexy.
made a movie about finding Bigfoot. That's amazing.
That's true.
That's incredible, really, when you
Yeah.
think about how popular it is. You would think that movie would be huge.
Some of the movie ideas they're doing, they're
Yeah.
just like it's like based on a matchbook.
Yeah.
Like, so you'd think they'd have Bigfoot.
What if they make
Especially
a
in
female
romantic
one?
comedies, when you hear some romantic comedy premise and you're like, what?
I don't understand.
And they finally meet again at 60.
You know, I sometimes feel like I just established consciousness when I was like 30, because like romantic comedies, like I was so dumb. I think in my 20s that like when it would be like Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal, like
Harry Met Sally.
Like to me, that was just a movie. I didn't consider that a romantic comedy, which it was. But now it's like this genre that is always existed, but they just kind of like just churn out these just like
Those didn't exist
sausage
before.
romantic
You know what
comedies.
existed? Movies where when a woman got mouthy, the man gave her the back of her hand.
Yep.
Back of his hand. Right?
Yeah.
That's what they used to do.
To the moon, Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Those were the good old days.
Billy Crystal fucked us. Billy Crystal fucked us.
What?
He
What?
fucked us and
He
Harry
did
Met Sally.
nothing wrong.
He tried to be manly. He tried to like be the best
Oh, that's
example of, and then he caved.
That or Sleepless in
because
Seattle.
so you see when Harry Met Sally. Harry Met Sally is like, it's like a sad ending to you. You're like, you know what? Everyone else is, you're like, yep, there you go. It's
It just
like
seems
a horror
like the
flick. It
relationship
goes from
seems like
fun
so
to-
much work. I'm never happy when a relationship that seems like so much work works out. Because I don't buy it. I'm not buying it. It's ain't going to last. You guys fight
But
too
wait a minute,
much.
there's a lot of people
Yeah.
in relationships. You just think that they're all acting. You're like, well, you know,
No,
I don't want
no,
Joe
no,
Rogan
no,
to think
no,
that
no, no.
I can't do this.
Listen, everyone has been in good and bad relationships.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when one is a battle, one is a crazy battle
Yeah.
like Harry Met Sally.
Oh yeah, no,
maybe
where
it's
they
not
have
for
nothing in
you.
common.
Come
It's like we
on.
hate each other.
Yeah.
We don't get along, but we got drunk one night and made out. So maybe we should get married.
Is it getting to the point? I'm 44. How old are you?
21.
You look great.
Yep.
Yeah,
Wow.
is it getting to
No,
the
I'm
point
45.
yet where you look at like older married folks and like that are just barely into each other, barely can communicate with each other, and you look at it and you go, I could see how that can happen.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah, definitely.
can see how it can happen, right? You
But
can
there's
just-
nothing normal about what we do. You know what I mean? Like, I think in some of those married couples, it's like I do everything with my wife. So it's not as if, the conversation where like the silent man, like, don't talk to me, Virginia. Like where they
You
don't
let your
talk.
wife talk? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, on Tuesdays she's allowed to talk. No, but there's that complete communication
Right.
breakdown. I don't know.
That's the only reason to be married. In my opinion, the only way you should ever, other than children, and that, of course, kind of goes with the whole package of that sort of
Yeah.
a relationship, they're like a really intense relationship.
That's homophobic of you.
Thank you.
I'm
But the only reason why you should is is because you feel like that. That's it. And if you don't, if anything
But
less
it's
than
not
that,
easy.
No,
there's
it's not.
definitely
You gotta
moments
get your own shit
where
together,
you're
too.
like, this is too hard. But
That's what whores are for.
that's what.
Whores.
No,
That's-
that's what you gotta
Fleshlight.
suck it up. You gotta
Yes.
go long term. It's like stand up comedy. When I don't know, maybe you probably did all right, but there's a lot of nights where you just eat shit.
I ate dick.
But you're
many,
committed.
many
You've made the
times.
commitment.
Sure.
Remember when you
Yeah, it's
had
a
friends
terrifying
that
moment,
quit
yeah.
quit comedy, and they'd be like,
Yes.
"I'm quitting," and you'd look at them and you go, "I don't think I could ever quit." I
Yeah.
really feel that way. It's
Yeah.
like, this is not something like, I'll try this and then maybe I'll try archery. It's like, it's not like I had a choice in this. It's like I
when
was
you're
resigned to be like the weird old uncle. I didn't think that I'd.
When you're constantly
married.
making people laugh like you are, like even just we're having this conversation, all the three of us, there's that feeling that you get when you're laughing really hard at something, where all of our brains are like,
Yes.
there's like a real energy that goes off when you're really laughing hard at something. People fucking love that.
Yeah.
You love it. They
Yeah.
love it. You love to do it. It's one of the most fun things to be able to do. To do that
Yeah.
to a whole room full of people.
Yeah.
People to go out and see it. It's one of the most fun things for them to see.
Yeah,
So why would you?
definitely.
How'd you quit? Why would you quit? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's an absolute heroin, right?
Yeah.
Going on
it's so much
stage
fun.
and being able to, make a crowd laugh or
Yeah.
just coming up with a new joke.
And by the way, I feel like it's also a responsibility because there's Jim Gaffigan fans out there, and you got them addicted to Jim Gaffigan humor.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to keep coming. You got to keep showing up. You got to keep touring. You got to keep coming to them. They want to come see you again.
Well,
and again.
I think it's also, even though I think fan is, that's a different
it's a
topic.
weird word.
I think it's a weird word, particularly for me, but I think it's also really important to like do well. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
Not suck.
Well, if people are paying $30, it's
Yeah.
like they better leave. Like if they
Yes.
don't leave going, that was great.
Yeah.
You fucked up.
Some
You
of
know what I
my
mean?
most inspirational moments in comedy have been from reading a review of someone who said that, like, oh, I thought it was boring, or oh, I didn't like it. And I've read those before, and
Yeah.
even if it's just one douchebag, like sometimes
yeah.
it just makes you like, just that anybody could think like that. I have
Yeah.
to stop that. You might not like the subject matter, but if anybody thinks that it wasn't a good show, and anyway, I need to fix whatever the fuck that is.
Right. It's interesting because there's the new material police.
Yeah,
which is
hard on the
which
internet.
is kind of it's painful, but it's also good. It's kind of like
Yes.
people are like, wow, 79% of the show was new.
Yeah.
It's like, and then there's some people like you could do like 45 minutes new and do like 15 minutes old, and they're like, it was all old material. And you're like,
Yeah.
what about the first 45 minutes?
Yeah, people will definitely do that. And I like hearing, like, Joey Diaz has some jokes I could hear over and over and over again.
Greatest hits.
I want to hear some, like, when I go to see a guy and, you know, he's a guy that I've been seeing over the last year or two, I don't mind seeing those jokes over and over again. I certainly don't expect in a year that he's going to have a whole new act.
Yeah.
Unless he
No.
just puts something out. And that's the crazy, and you're about to do that right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you do the same thing. You toss everything out, and then you start pretty much fresh.
When I'm in New York, but, you know, if I'm doing a theater, I think the most important thing is to try and make it half new at least, but also make sure that it's a really good show. So there is something about, like, I don't want people, because like you said, some people want to hear the old stuff.
It is that weird thing, though.
Yeah. I mean, like a week ago, it was all new. It was like 75 minutes new. But, and I have stuff that I didn't put in this, you know, like maybe 20 minutes. So I'll start over with that 20 minutes and kind of throw stuff out. But, like, when I'm doing a show, it's like, it's got to be
Boom.
It's got to be boom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You got a lot of people coming to see you. They're
Even though
spending
mine
money.
might be like boom.
Yeah.
But I think, I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you talk. But I think that's what's so amazing about, you know, like, we're making each other laugh here, but, like, that's some of why podcasts are so fun. It's like comedians want to talk to other comedians. We just don't have the opportunity.
Yeah.
And so, you know, getting the opportunity to do something like this, you're like, well, yeah, no, I'd love to talk to Joe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you were so nice because I asked to do it that you.
Well, I'm really excited that you're
doing
doing your special the same way Louis C.K. did it. You're going to release it completely on the internet, the same price. I think Louis kind of established it, right?
Yeah.
$5. I'm going to do the same thing.
I think it's you know, Louis not the first person to sell something on the internet, but I think he figured it out, a real simple thing. It's like you keep it cheap. $5 is not going to kill anyone.
Yeah.
And then you make it really easy to buy, and then you're just honest and
good. You know, people were looking forward to seeing Louis' stuff and you know, Louis is the guy that, in my opinion, is the most prolific. I think. I don't think there's anybody as prolific as him. Every year, a whole new hour and a half or whatever the hell it is. This whole new show.
I did a show with him in Boston like 2 weeks ago, and he. This is gonna freak you out. I'm not sure about this, but I'm pretty positive. He goes, "Yeah, I was writing material, and I need 45 minutes for my show." For the comedy section of his show, and I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. So that 45 minutes that he's written for his show, for his 8 or 10 episodes or whatever of that show, that 45 minutes isn't even going to be part of his next hour, which he'll do probably in 2 months.
Really?
Wow.
You know what I
my
mean?
God, that's insane.
I mean, I'm not in 2 months, but I think he does an hour a year.
That's crazy.
So I heard that and I was like, wow.
Yeah, he must just put himself in weird situations to make things happen that are funny to talk about. At a certain point in time, you just start driving to bad neighborhoods and going to massage parlors you don't even want to be at.
Reading every book on premises.
Yeah, on anything. Yeah,
because I talk a lot about food, and I feel as though there's no more food. I've talked about all of that. It's like,
yeah. I have a theme of animals that can kill you. I'm always fascinated and terrified by animals that can kill you. How many tiger jokes can I do?
It's so funny.
I could listen to you talk about lean pockets all day, though, because I am a huge. I eat more lean pocket
Hot
than
Pockets.
Well, I do lean because I'm
He
on a
does
diet.
because he's a lady.
But I seriously eat it.
I'm joking.
But I eat like 4 a week. Like it's
simple.
It's
right?
so easy.
That's really not good for you.
That's the blessing and the curse of Hot Pockets, right? Is it changed my life. That joke. Hopefully, you know, the whole Beyond the Pale was good, but it's like that Hot Pockets. It's a blessing, right? It's opened up so many opportunities. Yet, you know, me walking through the airport, people yelling Hot Pocket is not my favorite thing, right? I mean, I don't even know how to respond to it.
Do you get discounts for it, like coupons? Do they send you any?
No,
kind of
but when
free-
I used to have theater shows, and they used to have a guy dressed as a Hot Pocket standing outside passing out coupons.
Oh, wow.
Or coupons. And
for Hot Pockets?
For Hot Pockets.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And then
Did you like make a deal with Hot Pockets to do
No,
that?
people thought that I was in cahoots with them, and I was like, I had to like send a letter like, you guys can't do that.
Yeah, you got to pay me.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
They have to
also,
pay
I
to
don't
do
wanna
that.
Be,
You don't want to be associated with
I don't want to
food product?
feed the Hot Pocket thing,
Yeah, you don't want people actually buying Hot Pockets and having fucking heart attacks on your
Yeah.
behalf, right?
Now,
It's
wait a
one
minute.
thing to
So-
crack jokes
so,
about it.
So you're doing the special. When you get done with it,
I'm going to release it on the internet the same way.
And are you going to start from all new?
Yeah.
You're
We'll
going to
start
just
from
go
all
on
new.
stage.
They're just going to get... Well, the Ice House here in Pasadena has an annex room. It's an 85-seat room.
Yeah.
And we've been doing a lot of shows there. And it's like the best place ever for fucking around and coming up with new shit.
Oh, really?
Because it's really small. It's super intimate. It's
That's
like
great.
real relaxed. And, and they kind of know that that's what we're doing.
Oh, right.
And so we have these podcast shows where we do, all the comics will come and sit around and do a podcast, and each one will go on stage and then come back and
Like
join
a green
the
room
podcast.
podcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but
That's
it's a
great.
real green room. I mean, it really is us right before we go on stage, and there's like, you see like, how much time do I have left? He's on now? Oh, shit, I got to go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Boom. And guys will leave, and then they'll come back
that's
in,
fun.
and, hey, Joey Diaz just returned. How are they? Oh, they're fucking fantastic. And then he'll start talking about the show. And
Yeah, you got to do one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun to.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Because then you can have a different you might have different interpretation of the audience.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's definitely that, and there's also, when you come back here, there's like this party going on. There's all these people, and like Russell Peters came by with like fucking 10 people with him. It's always something crazy like that. So it's like a fun environment, and the shows are amazing. And to me, it's like I'm just gonna concentrate on doing a lot of those shows, like really small shows. And I have a bunch of ideas that I haven't like fleshed out yet.
Right,
I'm just gonna
that's
have to
nice.
just chuck them in there and see what's
The
up.
little kernels. Do you feel like the podcast is influencing your act?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, it also changed my audience entirely.
Really?
My audience at one point was like a combination of Fear Factor people, which were fading away, and it was mostly like UFC fans. It was like kind of curious. And then, it was still half of them knew what I was doing, but now it's 100%. And now it's like literally 90 to 100% of the audience is all podcast fans. So they know you 100%. They know you like as much as anyone could know you ever.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Huge
So
gay
it's great.
base.
Huge
gay base.
Especially women,
Yeah.
tall ones.
Yeah. Lumberjack women.
Yeah. You're not describing the type
Doesn't
of
bother
women
me.
you like, right?
Hey, man, I'm open to anything. It's all dependent on what kind of situation I'm in at the time.
Do you think there's a guy out there that just goes after like the butchiest lesbians?
Of course. There's people that like everything, man.
Wow.
There's a broad spectrum. You've met people that, you look at what they're
Have you
doing.
met people?
I've met a few people behind a 7-Eleven in West Hollywood.
Brian, you shouldn't have went there. That was too easy. You ruined the vibe of the room.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up compasses.
He's talking about gay neighborhoods in Hollywood.
Is it West Hollywood the
That's
gayest
like
one?
the gayest part of the world, pretty much.
We were in Compton today, and that, like, I was thinking Compton, like, oh my God, we have to go to Compton. That's so scary. It was like nice there.
Yeah, well, the part where we were at was not where people live.
Are you moving
we
there?
were in an industrial
Thinking
area.
about it. It's cheap.
He's thinking about going total street just for the cred.
I'm actually from Compton.
Are you?
Sue.
Main Street.
Main Street, Compton.
Main Street, right next to the library.
Rosa Parks Avenue, right in the corner.
Compton.
We were in a Honey Honey music video. Honey Honey is this band that we just found out about like a couple weeks ago, and they're like one of my new favorite bands. And I went to see them perform in LA. I got to meet them, and then they came and did the podcast, and they were fucking amazing and just really cool people and really, really talented. And so Brian and I were in a music video today for them.
Super awesome to meet.
Yeah.
Jason Ritter was there, and so the whole afternoon I just got to sit down and hang out with Jason Ritter, and I'm a huge John Ritter fan, so it's just so fucking weird that I'm sitting there.
That's the guy that was on that one show.
Three's
right?
Company.
The event.
Three's
The
Company.
event. No,
Jason
John
Ritter?
Ritter was he was like one of the nicest guys. You ever work with him?
Yeah, I did News Radio with him. He did a couple episodes of News Radio. He was great. He
What
was
a nice
awesome.
guy.
Yeah, super, super nice guy. Yeah, that one was like that. When a guy like that dies, you're like, wow, really?
Yeah.
It's like 50 or something like that.
That
Like, really?
affected me more than any celebrity death. Like all the other celebrity deaths, like I don't know that person. Yeah, it sucks that they're gone, but for some reason that I still think about that John Ritter all the time.
I would say that was up there, but Phil Hartman doused it for
Yeah.
me. That was
Hartman's
the
another one.
craziest one.
That's crazy.
Yeah, John Ritter was hilarious. He was a really funny guy off stage too. Like in
Yeah.
between takes. Did you ever do anything with him?
Yeah, I did an episode of Ellen's second sitcom with him. And he was like a really nice guy. It's so interesting, like the actors that when we were kids, like John Ritter was like, I don't know who to compare him. He was like the Jerry Seinfeld when we were like kids, wasn't he? He was pretty huge, and such a nice guy.
Great guy.
Who
was the guy who's the director? He was in Starsky and Hutch, and now he's a director. Do you know who I'm talking about? God damn it,
Jay.
He's the guy whose his wife, I believe, died of AIDS.
Really?
Yeah. God, I can't remember his name. Can you find that, Brian? Just Starsky and Hutch, the movie, or the TV show rather. Just
the TV show.
Yeah, the TV show, not the movie with Ben Stiller, not the new one, the old one. When I was a kid, I fucking loved this show.
Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah, and then one day...
It's Starsky and Hutch. You seem like you could be a character on Starsky and Hutch.
Thank you so much. I really
No,
love
you know what I mean? No, because it's... that was back in that 70s era, who was Peter Falk? He was one.
Yeah, Columbo,
and then there was an...
Beretta.
There was like the fat guy.
Kojak.
What was the fat guy that was the detective? It was a little later.
Fat guy.
Jake and the Fat Man?
Jake and the Fat Man.
Jake and the Fat Man.
But that guy...
Wow.
Like that was the last TV show for like
fat people.
For fat people. That was it. They're like, sorry, you know what, Dennis France, come on in, you can get an Emmy. But like the guy was a lead, and he, Dennis France was just like a regular looking guy, but that guy, Jake and the Fat Man, the lead character was a big fat guy.
Do you remember Sammo Hung? He had a show on CBS with Arsenio Hall, and he was a fat kung fu guy. And he beat everybody up. Do you remember that, Brian?
No.
God damn it, I can't remember the name of the show. But yeah, he was he was like a legit kung fu movie star, but he was fat. And he could like throw kicks and head kicks, and he could do everything, but he was a fat guy. And he would fuck guys up.
Right. Wonder what he's doing.
Well, I don't know. But he was a fat guy that also had a good gig.
He had a good gig.
Solid TV gig.
There's... Like, I would be considered like a severely obese person on TV, right? Well, I guess The Biggest Loser, there's big people on that, right?
There's very big people on The Biggest Loser.
But there's like the emphasis on attractive people in movies and television it's not like disproportionate. It's like ridiculously disproportionate.
Right. But when you need a character guy, when you need the wacky... what is the dude's name? Like a Steve Buscemi character or something.
Right. Movies will do that. But I think I was at the gym once, and I saw, I think it was an episode of Bones was on. And again, I don't know the show. I'm sure it's a good show. But literally the show was, like when you're on the plane and there's a TV show playing and you just kind of watch it.
And you don't have your headphones on.
You don't have your headphones on. And from what I could tell, they went, the attractive couple, and then someone dies who happens to be an attractive woman, and then they go to a restaurant that I think I put my headphones in. And it was in the bayou. Okay, I don't know if the show's set in Louisiana or not, but it was in the bayou, and the guy who was the owner of this authentic alligator bayou bar had my accent, and he looked like he should be hosting the local news, right? He did not like, if you've been to Louisiana, the people in Louisiana, I mean, I'm a white trash guy. It's like, that's
funky genetics.
It's just like people don't like where I'm from. People don't wear sweatpants on Saturday night. You know what I mean?
Right.
When they go out because they're not working.
Right. Harry Connick is
not the norm.
It's not the norm.
And so anyway, so like I watched the show, I kind of give up, and hopefully this is worth it. So then I watch it, and it's just like everyone is. I think they're FBI agents. Everyone is like 27. Like the oldest person was like 28, and they're like, "Now you've been here a year longer than me." It just was very interesting that there was no one like 60. There was no one like 12. It was just everyone was the same
27.
age. They were the same age. They were the same size. Like all the women were thin, and all the guys were kind of like work out 2 times a day, kind of worked out body. And there was no one.
That 27 years of age is a really pivotal moment for a woman's sexuality. Very, very important. You know why? Because at 20, she doesn't know what's going on. You're taking advantage of a little child. And, at 37,
Yeah.
she's like probably desperado for a relationship, wants to settle down immediately, only has a few eggs left. 27 is like just old enough so that you're not innocent anymore. You're a dirty bitch.
Right.
You're a dirty bitch and you want some
Right.
dick. You know, that's a 27-year-old girl. That's like really the perfect time. Perfect time to fuck.
You just increased your podcast audience among
Just
the
that?
female demographic.
Just saying that? Explaining.
Well, I don't know. I think it's like if you simplify and generalize women.
Well, I'm
they
just,
end-
is it
they
broad
end to,
terms
like,
if I was writing
being
a book?
upset.
These were broad
You're like,
terms.
I'm not saying all
Listen,
women,
of course,
just the
there's
27
variables, Jim Gaffigan. Don't go Captain Save-A-Ho on me, buddy. I'm just trying to make a comedy example.
I am with the Women's Alliance. And as the founding member of Women's
Nobody
Alliance.
would like women to be nice more than me. Nobody would root for them to be awesome more than me. Nobody's happier than when women are nice more than me. But nobody likes to be or hates to be told what to do by a woman more than me. I don't
Right.
like that. I don't
Right.
like bossy women.
I don't
Especially
even remember
like
talking
aggressive,
about this.
aggressive bossy women. Is there anything more uncomfortable when a woman gets aggressive and bossy with you? It's like, oh, this is so dangerous. Like,
Yeah.
somebody's going to hit you with something.
So you don't like strong women.
Not that. I don't like bossy, aggressive women. I like strong men, but I don't like bossy, aggressive men either.
Yeah,
But there's something almost seems like, oh, this stupid fuck, you can't even help it. It's in his nature. But an aggressive woman to me is always like, oh, my God, what are you doing? You're like, you have no brakes. You're just driving crazy, and you have no brakes.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a difference between like being a nudge and being confident. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a difference between, being assertive and being aggressive and confrontational in an unrealistic
Yeah.
way. And whenever anybody does that, it's always uncomfortable. But for me, it always freaks me out when women get like aggressive and crazy. Like when a woman starts screaming at a guy and putting her hands in his face. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing?
Right.
Like this is almost physical violence here. You're instigating this?
Right.
Like this ain't gonna end well. This is crazy.
Like I bet you if we had a fight, like all the men versus all the women, we would kick the shit out of the women.
Most likely we would do that.
I mean, we would totally. You know, like, I mean, I might get beat up, but you wouldn't.
I think I would get beat up eventually. There's enough of them. I think there's 51% of the population.
Yeah.
And that 1% means a lot. If it was like a lot of chicks around you, and when you talk about millions of people, that 1% could be pretty substantial.
But you know, there's some guys that would just, like, that's their fantasy.
Yeah.
Is to get beat up by a bunch of women.
Everybody knows the one guy that has every relationship he's ever in, the woman's in control. And she yells at him and tells him what to do, and he's always miserable. And it's a terrible situation. Everybody knows that guy, though, right? Everybody.
Yeah.
It's cunty, but I wouldn't want to be a woman and have a cunty man either. You know, it's just the only reason why I feel this way is because I'm a man and I've seen so many guys get their lives ruined by women who probably can't even help what they're doing. And the reason why I say this is because I had an ex-girlfriend and she was a very nice person.
Yeah.
She liked to fight. She just loved it. She would just start to fight for no reason, and I'd be like, "What are we doing? Come on, this is crazy."
Yeah.
And after a while, we became friends, but we stopped dating. And so she started dating this other guy and was going through the same thing, with screaming at him and yelling at him, but this guy would just take it. He would just eat it.
Yeah.
And so we had a conversation one day, and she's smoking a cigarette and shaking. She's like, I can't help it. She goes, I have to test him. She goes, and when he lets me walk all over him, I just want to scream loud enough so that he turns me around and tells me to stop. So that he brings me back to normal and tells me to stop. I'm like, you might be the craziest fucking person on the face of the earth. Like, imagine living your life like that.
What a bitch.
She's not a bitch. She was just compelled by her own genetics to not have a bitch for a man. You know, she was like a wild horse that needed to be broken. Jim Gaffigan.
She
You know
did.
what I'm talking about?
She did. Yep.
Are you still doing Pale Force?
Nope. No, I haven't done that for, God, since Conan had Fallon.
What was Pale Force?
Pale Force was where it was an animated thing that actually my brother-in-law, Paul Noth, who's a cartoonist for The New Yorker, he came up with this idea of an animated series where Conan and I were superheroes that would fight crime with our paleness.
Sweet
so
nipples.
we would shoot lasers from our nipples.
It was awesome. It's the art style. Did he do that?
Yeah,
Paul?
he did all that.
Did he do the Saturday Night Live Funhouse video?
No,
It seemed very
that's
familiar.
Smigel.
Oh, Smigel, that's right.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. You should do that more.
Yeah, I think NBC owns it, and
Oh.
NBC and Conan, I don't know if they're that good of.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Masturbating bear. They can't even do that.
What a mess. What a mess that whole thing became.
What a mess
huh?
is right.
So crazy. Just the whole idea was crazy. Putting the Jay Leno show on at 10, like, what? You're going to have the Tonight Show on, but just earlier?
When they did that, didn't you think that was... I thought that was their way of like, well, if Jay fails, then we say we give him a try. But I think that's what I thought they thought was going to happen. But what happened was, because Jay was on earlier, it killed Conan's chance to even get an audience. So people would watch the Tonight Show at 10 and then they wouldn't watch it later. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was silly. It was a silly idea.
It's weird. You know, you're the comedy policeman.
No, I'm not.
You are.
You called me that before the improv, and I told you it
Yeah.
made me very uncomfortable.
That makes you uncomfortable?
Not really, but I look. I had
When
to
I'm not enjoying
step
it,
in
it's
for
very
one piece of civil unrest. I've never done anything since.
Well,
So I
there's
can't really
something about that whole situation with Leno, and I don't know Jay at all. And but it's, if there was a Joe Rogan of that generation, maybe to go and explain it. That's why that's our new show. You look for Bigfoot, and you solve comedy kind of.
Well, I think for all of us, there's been a few instances in the past where there was a guy that was kind of like clearly plagiarizing another guy, and then one guy became famous with other people's shit. I mean, it's happened more than once, and we've all felt the real pain and frustration of watching someone do somebody else's material where that they're stealing. They're not compensating them. They're just stealing, and it was like a Wild West thing. It was like no one was doing anything about it, and and to treat it like it was no big deal, you're absolutely crazy. It's the core of someone's ability to perform on stage is having great material.
It's their life. It's their life.
You can be the best comic in the world. You have nothing to say on stage for that moment. If you go on stage and you have nothing prepared and you have nothing to say, you're fucked. It's not going to be good.
Right.
You need premises. You need material. And so to pretend that it wasn't a big deal, that the industry was treating it like it wasn't a big deal, and we were like, "This is crazy." Like,
I think you
got
did
an insane
something. I
person.
told you that night. What you did was very important. I mean, it was very important.
Well, for us, it had to happen. It had gotten to a point where everyone was just turning a blind eye to it because they were profiting off of it. You know, and that's what happens when a person becomes successful and is a plagiarist. If it was in any other form of art, whether it was writing, writing would be super clear. I mean, the guy would go to jail.
Yeah.
If it was music, they'd take all your money. If they can prove that you have the same beats and you're copying it, like they take all your fucking money, man.
Yeah. And we're not talking about, similar premises.
Which we all have.
Which is all going to happen. We're
Tiger
talking
Woods. Who has a fucking Tiger Woods joke? Raise your hand.
Right,
Everyone.
right.
Everyone sat down and said, oh, this is a gold mine.
Yeah.
You can never claim a premise, but you absolutely know when...
when language is lifted.
Yeah. Well, you also know where there's smoke, there's fire. And they can't... I truly believe that people who steal can't write. I really do. I think I don't think you can do both. I think something happens when you steal, and that this being disingenuous, this pretending, this bullshit, knowing that you are not really doing what you're claiming to be doing, that you're pretending and that you're ripping people off and lying and projecting this false self-image, which is like all ego, which is exactly what shuts you off from the ability to come up with new shit. Like when you come up with new shit, it's not like you thinking about you. You see something, you go, oh, look at this right here. This is ridiculous.
Right,
and you know what I mean? It's not you. It's you coming up with it and you thinking about it, but you're not involving yourself. You're not trying to project a certain image. You're not, making sure that people think of you a certain way. You're not even thinking like that.
Yeah.
Because when you do think like that, that shuts off creativity. And when a guy steals, what a guy's doing when he's stealing is he's trying to make himself better than he is. He's trying to pretend that he's smarter than he is. He's trying to put out stuff pretending that he figured this out when it was really someone else. It's all ego.
It's really sad too.
Yeah.
It's sad in a way because I think that it's almost as if, like policemen, they have like rabbis. It's like I feel like almost comedians should have rabbis. Someone to sit there and go, all right, you know what? You might not want to do that. But it's such a strange business and we're all very individual but the irony also is that any comedian would tell you that the respect of their peers is way more important than whether you're selling out Saturday night.
Yeah, that hurts guys bad when their peers turn on them.
It's
that
brutal.
Hurts guys bad.
It's like, it's like you always heard about comedians that like, like African American communities when they would they would lose the black audience. I mean, that's brutal.
Yes.
But like when comedians, don't respect
I
you.
heard it's a
I
great
feel
weight
sorry.
loss. It's great for weight loss, I heard.
Yeah, because you have no money for food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That could be really devastating to guys.
let's talk about something
It's just-
more depressing.
No, I mean I think what's important is like what we were talking about earlier when we were talking about Louis C.K. Like that when you're doing it the right way, not just doing it the right way, but like fucking trailblazing, like way faster than anybody else is putting out that kind of material and putting out great stuff. It's not like the quality's suffering. It's still really funny, great observations. There's a lot of thought behind it. It's like really great stuff. So we sit here and we talk about that, like how amazing that is. And that's the positive thing. And I'm sure he gets that all the time because that's what the fuck he's doing, and he's got this whole momentum thing going. He keeps churning out the great new stuff. People keep enjoying it, and it keeps moving and moving and moving. And that's really an example for everyone to see, every young comic to see. It can be done. Just do it the right way. You do it the right way, it's incredibly satisfying. But if you hack and chop your way and take other people's premises, man, boy, you're not just fucking yourself up. You're fucking him up. You're fucking the community up. If it gets tolerated, well, it's like it becomes a real problem.
Yeah, because I think some of the cliches, and you might disagree with me. I think like basic cliches about comedians are not true. Like there,
a lot of them,
people are like all comedians hate each other. I think that's actually the opposite. I think most comedians, if you're getting on stage, you're predisposed to like the guy.
Yes.
Or woman.
Yeah.
And so
if I see Sinbad, I don't know Sinbad, but if I see Sinbad, I mean, I'm not really into his stuff, but I'd be like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? I'm
that's
like, that's
the thing. It's like
fellow.
It's like there's so many different types of comedy. You're at least going to be respectful.
Yeah, of course. Always.
And you're not going to go out of your way. I mean, there are exceptions, where like I think Larry the Cable Guy and David Cross had like a feud.
Yeah, I think that was silly. I read David's arguments about that. I thought that was really silly. I mean, I think, Larry does have like a few sort of Islamophobic sort of raghead jokes in his act. And stuff, but I mean, he is playing a character. Are we supposed to pretend that the character wouldn't think like that? I get confused about that.
Right.
When the guy's name is Dan Whitney and he's doing a thing called Larry the Cable Guy, and this guy's supposed to be stupid as fuck and live in the South. I see Dave's argument that it might be encouraging racism, but I also like, really? Do you think Larry the Cable Guy's changing anybody's mind about whether or not Arabs are bad?
Censorship's it's a slippery slope.
It is
right?
a very slippery slope. Yeah,
and
to shit on anyone's choices when it comes to that. I mean, some of the funniest stuff I've always said is the most inappropriate and ridiculous, like Otto and George. Like have you ever seen seen Otto and George in New York?
No, are you kidding?
It's one of my favorites.
I used
in
to,
New York.
When I first got opening spots in New York, around when I would tank, and then there would be a middle that would do okay, and then Otto and George would go up.
What year was this?
1831.
He's got something he's doing online. Check it out. It's called The Pig Roast. I don't know the exact address, but if you Google it, just Google Otto and George, The Pig Roast. Otto and George is a hilarious puppet act in New York, and he was always like the example of a guy who would just say the dummy was evil as fuck. His dummy would say the meanest, nastiest shit.
The quote is that people would leave and they would say, that one guy was funny, but I thought the dummy was really rude.
My God.
It's like...
I don't. Yeah, he would say some of the craziest, most ridiculous racist shit, and he would tell the dummy, "Hey man, you can't fucking say that. That's wrong." And the dummy would like, "Fuck you." And what a great gimmick.
Yeah,
to have a really angry, psychotic fucking dummy, and the comedy is him. He says fucked up shit, and you go, "Man, I can't believe you're saying that."
He's all innocent.
I mean,
that's
what a
not even me.
Fucking brilliant idea.
I can't believe he did that.
But it's a style of comedy. It's like death metal. Are they really killing people every day?
Right.
That's
a good point.
It's a style. It's a type of comedy. There's and people want to say like shock comedy, that it's cheap. I so disagree, because it doesn't work unless it is funny. I mean, shock comedy won't work on me unless it is funny. And there's a certain art to writing ridiculous, shocking shit. There's an art to it, and it's a type. It's a genre. It's a style.
I think the shock comedy it's the Acela line in the Northeast. That's where
what line?
the Acela line, the
What is that?
Amtrak from Boston to D.C. There's the Acela line. Have you ever
Oh,
heard of that?
no, I never heard of it.
And but that's where tough guy comedy comes from. Is like Boston, New Jersey, Philly.
Right.
It's like that, and that Amtrak train goes up and down that, and those are the tough guys. You're a tough guy. You know what I mean?
How did we get to this? What
I
were we
don't
talking
know.
about? What were we just talking about?
I don't know.
I completely lost my
Did
point.
I just? Sorry.
Just made me uncomfortable.
Did I make you uncomfortable?
No, not really.
Okay. But you know what I'm talking about, like
Otto and George.
Oh yeah,
No, Otto and George. But Otto and George,
angry,
is
mean comedy. Yeah,
not necessarily mean, but
shocking.
Like I think
Yeah.
in New York, it was important to appear tough when I was starting out.
Really?
Not having emotion attached. You see
Wow.
that in Louis. Louis has it, and Attell has it, and Kevin Brennan has it, and Maron. I mean, even though Maron is such an open book, he has a little bit like being unfazed by,
Right.
at least on stage.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And you have it too.
Well, you
a little
have
bit.
to. You have to. Really be into what you're thinking about. And if
Yeah.
you're into what you're thinking about, you're not going to be really phased if people are into it or not. You got. That there's a
Yeah.
certain number of people that are your people.
Yeah.
There's especially if you're doing weird shit. You're really clean but really funny. But do you ever find yourself in a situation where like everyone in front of you, around you, is just
Yeah.
talking about anal fisting,
Oh,
and
yeah.
loads, and
Yeah.
rape, and then you go up and you're like, okay,
You're like, hey, who wants to talk about cake?
what about bacon?
Well, no, it's you appear. If someone's fucking a chair
Right.
or simulating
That's my
something
move,
like that.
bro. That's my shit.
And no, but it's hard to go up there and go, it's interesting, the third section of the USA Today. It's hard, right? Because you just appear so boring.
Right.
But if you if you don't follow someone really filthy or kind of like
Crushing. Someone who just crushes.
crushes or just kind of just irreverent, just thick irreverence, then it's not. I mean, you can do it. It's just like it's different styles of comedy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like if Metallica went on, I wouldn't want
James Taylor.
I wouldn't want to be James. Thanks. So you're calling me James Taylor.
James Taylor's awesome. By
Yeah.
the way, I'm a James Taylor fan.
In my mind,
Come
I'm
on,
gone.
he's
yeah,
a badass. I like James
Yeah.
Taylor for real.
yeah. No, so
Just
it's different.
yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone.
See, I was growing up. I remember
He's a bad motherfucker.
when I was 16, I got my driver's license. Here's another boring story by Jim Gaffigan. And I got my driver's license and went to a concert with. I'm the youngest of 6 kids, so my brothers and sisters went to a concert, which was the James Taylor concert. I know this sounds edgy already. And so I was 16, and I thought, all you got to do is show an ID, and they'll let you have a beer. And so I showed my ID. I got my driver's license that day. So I showed him the ID, and the guy took my ID. He goes, "You're not 21." And he took the ID, so I didn't have an ID. So I got my driver's license that day. So
Oh,
then the next
no.
day, my dad in the morning was like, "Hey, let me see your driver's license. You got it." And so then a week later, my driver's license shows up in the mail, and with a letter from the guy who ran, I don't know what it was, somewhere in Chicago, Alpine Valley or whatever. And the guy's name was James Taylor. So like James Taylor, I'm like, James Taylor.
Dude.
That was
You
kind
guys
of
are
boring.
like connected.
Yep. This Coke Zero's going to my head.
You're getting crazy.
I'm getting crazy.
James Taylor will do that. It does it to women, and occasionally it hit the estrogen genes that you have dark in the closet,
Yes.
tucked away.
Yes.
See, I sang the beginning of that song, and
Yeah.
I saw you
I
slump a
know.
little in your chair. You melted a little.
I melted a little bit.
James Taylor songs are like little back rubs. Like,
But that's also, that's kind of, now some of those songs, it's like, I know those songs because of my brothers and sisters, right? I mean, it's not like I was sitting there like, all right, I gotta,
well, somebody introduced you to it, but did
AC/DC.
you ever buy a James Taylor CD on your own?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. No, I didn't buy a CD.
I have. proudly. I
You
think
have?
I even bought.
Yeah,
a
but you're like an
cassette at one point in
MA.
time.
You're like a martial arts expert.
So you're
You
allowed
can-
to?
You
I'm
can
allowed
like
to listen
wear
to gay
pink,
shit?
and people would be like, "He's still a tough guy." I'm not gonna call him a pussy, but you know, like I sit there and I read the New York Times, and people are like, "Let's beat up the librarian." You know what I mean?
That
Even
doesn't
though I
really
played-
happen.
I
Are you being
played-
self-deprecating? Nobody
I'm
tries to
being
beat you
self-
up while you're reading the New York Times.
That's happened many times. I actually played. I played football in college. People
Did
think
you?
I'm a pussy.
That's scary. Football is fucking
It was
terrifying.
Division III.
Whatever it is, there's big people running into you, man. That shit's dangerous.
Did you ever do any of that?
No, I wrestled in high school, and my coach was always like, "Rogan, you should play football. You're crazy. You'll be great out there."
I wrestled in high school.
I wrestled 134 pounds.
134 pounds. That was the ladies' division. Right?
Yeah, no, I was under the ladies. I would help them. I'd help them get ready.
No, I was 167. I remember I was undefeated my senior year.
Were you really? You were a killer
And,
wrestler?
177. Again, this is a small
Wow.
high school. And so, you know how, like, we didn't have tons of guys on the team. So, like, I lost, like, 10 pounds in a week. Remember, like, people used to do that in
Oh
wrestling.
yeah, I did that.
You'd lose 10 pounds to go to a different division.
Yeah, and you would wrestle that
Because
day,
there
too.
was, like, some, you know, big fat guy who could do mine because they didn't have someone for that slot.
right.
So I lost 10 pounds. I was undefeated. And then, you know, I went out there and I like blacked out and got pinned, you know, and
Wow.
it was brutal because it was close to an undefeated season.
That's pretty badass, though.
I beat the guy that was third in state.
Wow. How come you never did anything with it afterwards? You ever tried jiu-jitsu?
You know, I don't like standing up even.
You don't exercise at all?
I mean, yeah, no, I used to
You
be
do?
thin.
But
you know?
I'm not talking about like back in the day. I'm talking about like, do you do anything right now? Do you play
I do
badminton?
that P197 or a P90X.
P90X. You don't even know the number.
190.
I've heard that's really good.
I heard it's
good.
I'm
great.
sure
I
it's
did
great.
it once.
I've heard it works. That if you just follow what this guy's doing, it really will transform your
I
body.
used
It's all
to-
scientific principles.
I used to
behind it.
work out. I was pretty buff.
I watched a video of it, and it's fucking pretty intense stuff.
I tried
mean,
it
yeah.
once. I couldn't do it. More
It's
than
intense.
How
Once.
often do you work out?
5 days a week at least.
5 days a week. Do you have like a gym in your house?
I have 2 gyms in my house.
Well, that's normal.
I have,
right?
a,
I
I,
mean,
have I have a weightlifting gym in my house, and I also have a kickboxing setup.
Wow.
It's all caged in my garage.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a company did it, or rather, a television show did it called Garage Mahal. It's pretty badass.
Was it ever released, that show?
Yeah. It's Bill Goldberg, that big wrestler guy.
Yeah.
He's the host of it, and they take over your garage, and in 3 days they transformed it. My garage is just
Yeah.
like an episode of Hoarders.
And then
It's
and then
disgusting.
then you're kind of like, where am I going to park my car?
No. It's a 4-car garage, so I have two
Wow.
Dude, I'm a high
That
roller.
must
I was
be
on
nice,
NBC
huh?
for years.
Wow.
So two
4-car
cars
garage.
is just padded up and caged
What kind of
in.
cars do you have? Do you like
Hondas.
cars?
They're all
Are you
Hondas.
into cars?
Yeah, I like cars.
All
yeah.
Hondas.
Well, how many you got 2 cars?
I got a few cars.
How many cars do you have, Jay?
I have 4 cars.
4 cars,
Yeah.
really? And
Yeah.
what's the love of your life car?
I have a Porsche, a GT3. It's
Wow.
it's basically like a regular Porsche. They take all the unnecessary shit out of it, like the back seat. They strip all the sound deadening. They make it lighter. They put a bigger, stronger, high revving racing engine in it. Tighten up the suspension, carbon fiber brakes, the
Wow.
whole thing. It just becomes the most ridiculous, responsive car you could ever drive. It's like you're glued to the road. Like you feel like everything.
amazing.
It's
And so
incredible.
you
And
love-
not even for driving fast. Not even
Like-
driving illegally.
This is kind of it makes me think of this point. It's like when you started stand up, did you think that you were? I mean, maybe I don't know you that well. It's like I went into stand up because I wanted to. I never had an expectation that I would be able to afford to have a family from stand up. You
Yeah.
probably didn't expect that you'd be able to own 4 cars.
No, never. Of course
Right.
not. I never would have believed that I could make a living off of it in the beginning. That was a dream, a distant dream. The great dream was to be a local Boston stand-up comic, to be like
Yeah.
a local guy. You know, there was a bunch of local guys that made a living. They drove. Look, he's got a nice Honda.
Yeah.
He lives in. Look, he's got a great fucking apartment. It's a loft. His office is on the top floor. That's where he writes. He's a pro. I'm like, this is a pro
Yeah.
that gets paid to be a comic.
Who's
to me, that was
actually doing something
unfathomable.
he likes
Yeah,
for a living.
unfathomable.
Yeah.
I had just had a series of shitty jobs, you know. I had
Yeah.
all of it. Drove a limo, did construction, did delivered newspapers, every possible ridiculous job. So no, I would have never thought I'd have 4 cars. I would have never thought I'd have money at all.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It is amazing.
it's weird. It's well, you know, and I think the lesson that other people can learn always from anyone's success is it might not be the same path, but if anybody can do it, you can do it. It really is that fucking simple. And it might not be everything. You know, it might not be, I can't play basketball. I can't run. I'm not a jumper. I'm not fast. You know, it's like I'm too short. I can't do that. Maybe I could. Maybe if I dedicated myself 100% to that. I mean, wasn't there a guy like Muggsy Bogues? He was like 5'6". He played in the NBA.
Yeah.
But the point is, whatever the fuck it is, just do it. Just go do it. Find a way to do it.
Right. I think
if anybody can do it, you can do it.
I think there's also adjusting, because you know when you have these, when you do like interviews, like when you're touring, doing stand up, headlining in clubs, you'll get interviewed by the local paper.
Yeah.
And they'll want to create some story. You know, it's like, oh,
for a headline.
He's from Indiana. He had no shoes.
Don't
when he
talk
came
to him
the
about cake.
You know, it's like these elaborate stories. So it ends up, it's like our stories, our real stories, they kind of adjust. Like I think when I started stand-up, I loved stand-up, but I wanted to be a writer for Letterman. I thought that would be an unbelievable job. And, it's an amazing
that
journey.
is an unbelievable job. I mean, that's like the elite of the elite as far as comedy writers. Like, this is Bobby writes for Letterman. Whoa. You write for Letterman? Holy shit.
Yeah, no, when we started...
Yeah, Letterman was always the top of the... Yeah. I think right now, I mean, I love Letterman, but I think Jimmy Kimmel is at least his equal. I think Jimmy Kimmel's fucking brilliant.
Well,
I really think he's
they're all
the best.
Equal.
Yeah, I think, Conan's always equal. I mean, he's always funny in his own way. I think he's very different than those other guys. And I think one of the beautiful things about his show was all the things that people had grown accustomed to that they pulled from him that he can't even use now. I think that's really fucked up. It's so silly. The whole thing to me is just so stupid. You can't do the talking dog anymore? You can't do, what? There's like a million things that you can't do anymore. Like, that's just petty horse shit.
I think that's completely petty.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's a strange...
You let the show go. That's the show. The show's over there now. It's with Conan. Come on, man.
Yeah.
It's just so silly.
It's very strange.
They should be able to buy it back.
They should.
Sell it back to them.
That's what happens in the NFL.
Yeah.
Someone goes and they're the head coach here, and then you go there. He goes to another team. You get something for it, but it's not like you're sitting there. Because I think there's no, like, these coaches, they're not supposed to be able to coach.
Right.
Like if they leave, they have to finish their contract of 7 years or whatever. They're not supposed to be able to coach for the rest of the 7 years, but they do anyway.
Well, that's didn't that happen with radio with Tom Likas?
Oh, really?
I think Tom Likas had a deal with the 97.1, the FM talk in L.A., and they syndicated his show all throughout the country. And those talk radio shows, I don't know what killed them, man. What killed talk radio shows?
Tom Likas.
Because, look, man, when you think about what that was, that network, I believe they had Howard on in the morning, right? It was Howard.
Yeah.
And then it was Frosty, Heidi, and Frank.
Right.
And it was like there was a bunch of good fucking shows. It's like, how did that go away? Like, what happened? What killed talk radio?
Well, radio is just hurting in general, and they
I
were
think
paying all those.
These podcasts.
Yeah.
You think
No,
that? No.
I don't know.
No, it's because that was before podcasts. Before we had ever done a
it is
podcast like this
strange.
was off the air.
Yeah, but satellite radio was killing them.
Were podcasts really popular when Likas was off the air?
Podcasts.
We obviously weren't doing, but was anybody?
Yeah, podcasts were really popular, and then it went away. Then the iPhones kind of came out, and they started.
But that was pre-Corolla podcast. It was Corolla still had the radio show.
Yeah, but it was satellite radio.
That's right. Corolla was the morning show after a while. Remember, he took over when Howard went to satellite. That's what it was.
What do people listen to in the morning in LA? Like living in New York,
Sucks,
I don't listen
man.
to the radio.
You used to be awesome. That's one of the things that I used to love the most about driving to work and being stuck in traffic was that I was listening to Howard Stern.
Well,
and they would replay it
so
on the
Howard
West End
Stern's
side.
not open?
No, he is. He is still on. But I mean, on regular radio, that doesn't exist anymore. There's nobody like that anymore. I mean, there are some morning shows like Kevin and Bean in L.A.
Oh yeah, well, Kevin
they're still
and Bean,
great.
They're huge, right?
Yeah, they're the last
I don't
of the
know
Mohicans.
LA.
Carson Daly and Seacrest, don't they have shows also?
Carson Daly has a radio show?
I thought so.
Does
He
it?
used to.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I know Seacrest does. Seacrest has like 100,000 fucking jobs. He must be insane.
Yeah,
Nobody works harder than that guy.
I know.
Who puts in more hours a day than that guy? He's on that E show. He's got a radio show. He's on the Star Search or whatever the fuck it is. What is it? Dancing with the Stars. What the fuck is he on? The big
American
one.
Idol.
American Idol. The big one.
That show's still on. Did you?
I
know
think
It's amazing.
there is
monster.
something
Can't
to
be
be
stopped.
what you're saying. There is something about people want to. It's not greed. It's like I think that, and I don't know Ryan Seacrest, Big surprise. And but I think he wants his empire.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think some people want their empire.
Well, I
And
think he recognizes the
I think
opportunity. He's a smart guy.
I think that's and it is very smart, but it's
Crazy.
I think it is a little crazy.
Probably a little crazy.
Don't you want to have a little fun?
Well, and
know what
also
I mean?
he might just that the only thing he's into is like entertainment. That might
Yeah.
be true too. Brian, what are you doing with the fucking thing, you crazy asshole?
What?
What are you doing with that effect?
I'm getting ready to go to the bathroom.
Oh. Oh, so you're going to leave the screen like this?
Yeah, I should.
Oh, I like that, dude. That's very clever. Do you feel weird? We're right next to each other on this video screen. Can we just talk? Let's look at the screen and let's see if we can have a conversation this way.
Try to kiss him.
I bet we can't. I bet we can't.
I don't know
have a
how to even
conversation.
get over there.
It's too weird.
It's like I'm not the brightest guy.
It's a weird thing to watch yourself talk. I don't think that's healthy.
Yeah, I'm not. I was editing my special, and my wife and I were, and it was. It's.
I hate
The thing is, like, it's one thing. It's like I'm out of shape. It's like that's the beauty of like, not looking at yourself is not realizing how out of shape you've gotten. Not that I was easy to look at before I was out of shape.
Half your act is about like a little bit about self-indulgence and
Yes.
the delicious things
and gluttony.
Do you think that if you got yourself in like spiffy condition, that might fuck up your material? I've heard people say shit like that before.
That's interesting. There was a point, when about a year ago. Well, I was doing something else, but I thought, I was working out. I had more time, so I was working out more consistently and not eating horribly at 3 a.m. And I was like, it entered my mind. It's like, am I going to be too in shape for some of these jokes? But I don't know. That's just me being neurotic, right?
Am I going to be too in shape for these jokes? That's hilarious. What a great escape clause. My act is so important. I can't do sit-ups.
I can't.
I'd
I'd work out, but it might mess up like that third chunk in the hour.
This is so stupid, but I really believe this. That I was getting into meditation and I was getting into yoga and a bunch of things when I was young. And when I had first started getting into comedy, and then I thought about it and I said, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do this because maybe becoming more enlightened is probably bad for my act.
That's interesting.
Because then I wouldn't be making fun of as many things or picking as many victims.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a comedian thinking there, right?
Especially Boston-style comedy, so mean. So, you it's attack style, and I was thinking, man, if I became enlightened and I was all like peace and love, like this would be terrible for my act. And I'm not going to stop being a comedian.
Well, it might not, I wouldn't want to eat healthy, That might, I think I got another hour in me being fat, then I'll go healthy.
I owe my fans. Yeah, and then you run out of shit, and then you go healthy, and then nobody wants to come see anymore.
Well, I used to be really thin. I mean, I did. I know you're looking at me like, no, you
I believe
weren't.
you. No,
I was.
No, I
was
remember you being thin. Just, not even a decade ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How long ago was it?
I don't know. 8 years ago.
Who was the guy? There was a guy who was like a really funny fat guy, and then he lost a lot of weight, and then he kind of like stopped being around. I want to say Vic something. Vic Dunlap.
Was it?
It's very funny.
It's so funny. I was thinking Vic Dunlap.
Yeah, very funny. He's really, really heavy. And then he lost a lot of weight.
Or he had the surgery. Maybe he had the surgery.
I don't know if he did or
Really?
he didn't, but whatever method he chose. I mean, maybe I'm just not up on what he's doing these days. But I remember seeing that guy everywhere when he was big. And then, he got skinny and, don't hear about him too much.
No, well, it's weird because we also, people will disappear and you don't even realize they're gone.
Yeah, that is weird, right?
And
like guys that you were like, I thought that guy was going to be around forever. Like that guy was like really funny.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Is it women? Is it getting married, having kids, you think?
Could be that. It could be some people get tired of the stress. Jim and I were talking about how much we love stand-up, but we never quit doing it. But everybody's got a different psychological makeup. And for some people, the anxiety of performance is like really intense.
Yeah.
Especially.
Well, I think that some of it's luck. I mean, it's a real cruel business.
Yes.
So, I mean, I was definitely an angry guy. Like for a lot of people were successful before me, and I was angry
You're bitter?
for a couple of years. Yeah.
Really? Wow. How'd you get yourself out of that?
Therapy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And just also I came to the conclusion that I was not doing stand up I wanted to be, I was happy for my friend's success, but I felt like I was a failure. But like, I had to come to the conclusion, what is success? And what success is like doing what you love and actually getting paid for it. And so then I adopted that attitude, and then things started going my way. And that's why I'm releasing a 12-book series.
That's interesting, man. That's really cool. I love hearing stuff like that. I love hearing somebody figuring things out and just turning it all around.
A lot of wasted energy on anger.
That is really, yes.
A lot of wasted energy.
Haters. I always say no haters are winners. There's no people out there writing scathing YouTube comments where they just break down your fucking soul. There's no winners. They're not happy. There's no way you are. You're wasting your energy. You're wasting it, you know?
Yeah, it's like you get what you put out.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
And it does make you feel, like if you're feeling shitty, it's like, and you help someone, you feel better.
Yes.
Particularly if you steal from them while you're helping them. So.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just really nice to me to see someone kind of figure things out like that and like get a new perspective on things.
But don't we have to learn these lessons like over and over and over?
I don't remember who said it, but they said that inspiration is effective, but it's like bathing. It only lasts for so long. That's why we recommend it daily.
Yeah.
And the idea being that, I guess it's easy to fall into a pattern of just not having your shit together or not thinking right or, letting yourself get jealous or letting yourself go down a negative way.
Yeah.
People like this, there's a big cliche, like, I'm just trying to keep it positive. Just try to what really keeping it positive means is addressing some shit that's not positive at all. And getting to know what the fuck is making you tick. And if you find out that you're getting angry for someone else's success for no reason, it's like, your brain knows you're talented. You're talented, but why isn't anybody else seeing it? Instead of your brain using that resource and going, let's just make sure it's undeniable. Let's just concentrate on being funnier and funnier till no one can say shit.
Yeah, well, it's the undeniability thing. But I think also for me, it's very much like I have to be in touch with being humble. I know this is sounding really corny. But like usually when I'm angry is when I think I'm in control. I'm somehow like I'm crazy enough to think that I can control the entertainment business or I can control whether, my flight's delayed. That's just insane. It's like, well, maybe if I'm angry to this flight attendant, the plane will take off sooner. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So when I'm in touch with, being humble, it ends up paying off.
Yeah, that's a very important aspect of comedy.
That's the 13th book of my series.
Well, what we were talking about earlier about guys who wind up stealing material, and that stealing is the opposite of being humble. You want more credit for what you've achieved, or for what you've who you are, or what you're selling. You want it. You're pretending it's better than it really is. And it's the exact opposite of humility, and that is the exact wrong state of mind to be in for creativity, I think.
Yeah.
That's so fucking awesome that you figured that out, man. I was for sure at certain points in time early in my career, I really had a hard time enjoying comedy because when someone would kill, when someone was really good, I would always thinking is, man, are they better than me? Fuck, I hope they're not better than me, man. Fuck, how good is that? That guy's pretty fucking good. Like it would bother me that something was good. I couldn't just enjoy it. I couldn't just sit back and watch. And it took a while before I figured that out, that was holding me back, that I would work with people, and if they were really good, I would get nervous. Instead of the way I do it now, I bring like really funny people on the road with me on purpose because I want to be laughing too. Like I want, when I work with Ari Shaffir, I don't know if you know him, but him and Duncan Trussell and Joey Diaz and Tom Segura, all these really funny guys. So when I'm sitting there waiting to go on stage, I'm laughing my ass off, and it puts me in the perfect state of mind. Like I want them to be brilliant. I want them to kill. But when I was young, I was terrified of it. I didn't want anybody else to be any good. I wanted them to be terrible so that I could fucking skate by on my shitty act.
Yeah, well, it's amazing how
you
we
gotta learn.
Evolve, and I think it's insane how I think podcasts are making comedians like it's siphoning out. I mean, I'm a jokesmith, and it's adding discourse or kind of reflection back into stand-up.
Right.
Whereas it used to be like, what's the deal with keys, right? And so now I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it's like podcasts are influencing some of this. It's like Pete Holmes even said that to me. He said that his podcast is changing his act. And I'm like, that makes sense. It's got to be so fun to, like, when you hear a bit and then you can go, you know what? Because, when you hang around some friends, like 3 a.m, you don't have someone recording it.
Right.
But, like, when you're doing a podcast and you're like, go back to, like, that in the middle. I said something funny. That
might
could
be a bit.
That might be a bit.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely come up with some bits from the podcast, 100% for sure.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking 3 hours at a pop, many times. We've done many 3-hour ones. We did a Kevin Smith one. I think that was the longest one we ever did, like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's probably the
and
longest.
it's thanks to Twitter too for reminding you. Be like, you'll say something and be like, oh shit, I did say that.
Oh,
Totally.
Twitter is
Twitter's
amazing.
It's amazing.
Twitter is changing how. I mean, I've done things on Twitter, and I remember like a year ago, I did some jokes because we just had a kid, and I was driving to do a show, and the guy who was opening, he was like, "You're gonna put those in your act, aren't you?" And I was like, "I didn't even think of that." And he was like, "Yeah." And it's like, they're great jokes. Like, and now, like, Twitter is this source of, like, is this funny? I mean, 99% of the time, no. But if you can get 2 great lines that could open up a topic.
Well, you're going to get them. You're going to get some tweets from this podcast for sure, where people will tweet quotes that you said that made them laugh. That happens all the time, right? And you'll forget you even said it.
Yeah.
And then someone will tweet it.
That's fun.
What's your numbers now? What do you have?
The numbers?
Numbers for your Twitter followers.
It's so funny. It's like, what's
That's all
your
I
numbers?
follow every day. I follow it like
there's
a
a
fucking
strange
freak.
obsession.
It's
like
crazy.
it's 9. I think it's 960 something. But I'm getting close.
96, 960,
960.
960,000. Holy shit!
But I've been working,
dude.
I've been working.
You're
and
gonna,
also
when you hit 1 million, you're gonna feel different.
I've only over the past month or two started to even have conversations on there. Like, first of all, initially I was like, I'm not going to have a conversation. Like, there's Twitter things. We should go over this, and then I should go. But here's the first one. The first one is, and some of my friends do this, so it's like to each their own. It's like when someone says, Jim Gaffigan was awesome tonight, part of me, the desire is to retweet that, but that's almost bragging, right?
Yeah, you get a humble brag for that,
right?
They'll
and
retweet you.
And so then there's the there's that, and then there's even having like, I had always wanted my timeline to just be jokes, like maybe at an appearance page list. It's like, I'll be in Tampa, blah, blah, blah. By the way, I will be in Foxwoods on June 2nd. No, and so because...
JimGaffigan.com?
JimGaffigan.com. And so I would do that, but there's also something insane about that, because there is something social, and if your friend says something funny, it would be fun to respond. So I've just been doing that for the past 2 months. But how many people do you follow?
I follow a lot.
I follow a lot too.
Yeah, I follow over 1,000.
It kind of sucks. I've been thinking about like cutting my numbers down lately.
You can't
because,
do that.
Yeah,
but there's so many people are like, dude, I told you about I tweeted it like for a week, and I'm like,
I've cut a few celebrities.
Yeah.
I was following some celebrities as a goof, and it's just say just moronic shit over and over again, and I'd get crazy, and I'd have to delete it.
Well,
I've
done that, but I also feel like that's kind of like inviting someone to dinner and then saying, sorry, you can't come, isn't it? I don't know.
No, it's like,
how about when
people unfollow me all the time, especially like really douchey people. I'm sure like some woman will get mad at my not wanting women to be running things.
Right.
My quote about that earlier. You fucking sexist pig.
Yeah.
By the way, that all came from watching a woman yell and scream at a guy yesterday, pointing in his face, and in a ridiculous situation where I thought it could escalate to violence, and I might have to step in. It was like kind of craziness.
Right.
So that's just the origin of that. So
But
maybe not really. Maybe I just made that up too. You don't know.
we don't know.
I don't know.
But we're going to agree with you because we're sitting in a room with you. But what was the thing about the Twitter thing? How about this? How about like when you have like, a comedian, there's friends, and then there's peers that you kind of know.
Right.
And you'll be like, hey, I'm going to send them a direct message. And then you realize they don't follow you. Isn't there a little bit like, really?
Yeah.
Really? You don't follow me?
I've done that accidentally, though, and I apologize. Like, I didn't realize I wasn't following somebody. And then there's been people that I knew I was following that for some reason I wasn't following.
I've had that too.
Twitter's been doing that a lot lately, and I think it's the iPhone. I think if you have the iPhone, you'll have the app open, and then you could easily like hit it.
Unfollow someone?
Because it happens to me all the time.
You know what else have happened? I used to have a BlackBerry and I had an iPhone at the same time. And when I had my BlackBerry, I would go on and check a direct message on Twitter, and then I would go, I gotta respond to that eventually, but I don't have time right now. And then I would go check it online, and there'd be no direct message.
Yeah,
it wouldn't exist anymore. Like, what the fuck? I didn't delete it.
I do know that if they delete a message, it deletes it.
Oh,
and another thing.
So somebody could send it to you, think that you didn't respond, and just delete it.
Yeah. And then there's another thing.
I feel like a dick.
If you go to somebody's page and it says that you're not following them, if you hit refresh, a lot of times then it will say you're following them. Like, it just doesn't show up that you're following them. And so then you might click it thinking like, I thought I was following this, and then that's unfollowing.
Then you are you kidding me?
Yeah. So anytime you
God damn it,
great. It's like I exist with enough guilt already.
Yeah.
It's. So anyway, I eventually have to go.
You got to get out of here right now?
I do.
What time is it?
Yeah, it's 8.
Yeah, it's 8:17.
Yeah.
All right, listen, you sexy bitch.
This was fun, though.
Thank you. Anytime. Please come by. You're awesome, man. Anytime you want to do it, please. How often are you out here in L.A.?
Not that often.
You living in New York City?
4 kids.
4 kids.
Yeah.
You live in Manhattan?
Yeah.
Wow, what is that like with 4 kids living in Manhattan?
It's like really hard.
Yeah, I would say. What do you do with them? How do you take them places and stuff?
We live in a 2-bedroom. Too.
Holy shit!
Yeah. So
wow, and that's probably $100,000 a month, right? Apartments in New York are
place,
fucking ridiculous, aren't they?
It's insane. It's
the craziest way to live.
I'm sure my apartment is like half the size of your garage.
Wow, that's ridiculous. And you must pay a shitload for it too, right?
Well, yeah. But
I had a friend who's got a $4 million apartment, and I was like, "This is $4 million.
Yeah,
this is $4 million. This is like $1,600 a month in Burbank.
Yeah,
this is $4 million in New York. This is fucking craziness.
It's craziness. It is.
Move to the West Coast, and we'll start a podcast.
Yeah, dude. If you ever want to come out here, man,
I'm too pale
be
for out
running
here.
shit.
No, you're not.
I don't drive.
Cars.
You couldn't imagine the amount of anxiety when I was like, the 134.
Dude,
it's like I don't drive that
marijuana
much.
in a navigation system, and you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's all figured out. You'll never have to worry about how to drive. So uproot your family.
All right, Joe. All right. Okay.
You can't say that you could never live here because of the sun, because you wouldn't be outdoors that much.
I date a ginger. It's fine. She just wears big hats.
Yeah, you'd be fine, dude. You can do it.
Well, I don't know.
You're scared? You're scared of the sun for real?
No. You know what? Some of it is, I think, the entertainment business. I don't know if I want to be that deep into it.
Yeah, you're probably right. I know that what you mean. You can live in a completely different world in New York. People are, for sure,
the caste
more informed.
The caste system that exists in Hollywood.
Yeah.
He's on a network show, so he gets to go here. And then here's an indie actor, so he jumps over you. Oh, you're a comedian? You can go back there with the mimes.
Is that how you feel when you're out here?
I think that there is a hierarchy here.
Well, I think that if you came out here, just if I was saying, going to say Jim Gaffigan, this is what you could do. If you came out here and started a fucking podcast, and you'd have all the comics that are out here, or you could actually even do this in New York if you wanted to. But you would have a huge podcast. I think it would be enormous, and I think it would change everything. Change how you promote your club dates, your theater gigs, anything you're doing. It would be amazing. For sure, easily. People would right away.
It sounds like it's
you'd be in the top.
That's why
you'd be in the top 5 in
here at Death
iTunes.
Squad.
You'd be in the top 5 in iTunes right away. I'm 100% convinced.
Oh yeah. You'd be, and I would. You'd be one of the few people that I would subscribe to.
Yeah, you're perfect for this, man.
I could do it with my wife. She's
that's not a bad idea. Tom Segura does it with his wife.
Yeah,
that only works out 50% of the time.
It only works out 50% of the time. Well, you mean with couples?
Good thing you're not.
You don't mean like Tom Segura.
No.
His shit sucks half the time.
No, I'm just saying with couples.
Let's just be clear.
Yeah.
Most of the time it causes breakup. So either way, it's a win.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
All right.
Jim Gaffigan, ladies and gentlemen,
Thank
and you can get his special when and how.
April 11th.
$5.
$5 at Jim Gaffigan.
JimGaffigan.com. GAFFIGAN.com. Dude, you're the fucking man. Will it be available on iTunes or Amazon
No,
or any of those
just
places?
Jim Gaffigan.
Just Jim Gaffigan. Okay, cool. Awesome.
there.
Thank you very much for coming, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. This was awesome.
Appreciate it.
It's
So fun.
Yeah, it's always fun to have a comic,
I
especially a
keep this-
comic that I don't really get a chance to talk to
I
that
know,
much.
this
So
is
it's
fun.
Really cool. Yeah, really cool. Thanks to the Fleshlight for sponsoring our lovely podcast. Please go to joerogan.net, click on the link, enter in the code name Rogan. You save yourself 15% off. You've heard this before. What's behind us?
The fleshlight. Is
Pretty
that
girls? That's little Esther.
that's a
She's our
little
pal.
kid, right?
No, she's a grown woman.
No.
Actually,
Oh,
she's
she
just
is?
very,
Yeah.
she calls herself Little
She
Esther.
tattled on me for parking at the comedy store last
Oh,
night.
little Esther, why'd you go negative on me? You come and give me a hug and apologize to Brian. Thank you to Onnit.com. ONNIT, makers of Alpha Brain. Go get yourself some. Always 100% money back guarantee for the first order of 30 pills. You know why it's not more? Because there's some people out there that are assholes. And it used to be you can have it all money back. 100%. All whatever you bought. 100% money back guarantee. But then people were selling that shit. So we had to stop doing that.
Ah.
It's dirty people out there breaking the law. Cutting through the rule
Can't
systems.
trust
Hacking the system. They hacked the system.
They
Jim
hacked
Gaffigan. God damn it. Anyway, Onnit.com, Alpha Brain, Shroom Tech Sport, Shroom Tech Immune, and New Mood, the 5-HTP enhancement supplement. As always, please Google nootropics. Get yourself into that shit first. Check it out. Find out what the pros and cons. And if you're interested in Alpha Brain, go to joerogan.net, click on the link, enter in the code name Rogan, and you
That's
save.
joerogan.net.
Yeah, not .com. Who's a very nice guy, by the way. Don't harass
Yeah?
him.
What does
nice
he do?
guy. He's a real estate
Golfer?
salesman in
Oh.
Idaho, and he just sent me some email that was accidentally supposed to go to me, but it went to him. What the fuck is this podcast still going on for? Good night, everybody. We got a packed week. Tomorrow, we have Jason Silva. On Tuesday, Aubrey Marcus. And then on Wednesday, we got Matt from Hoarders, the guy who cleans up after those fucking crazy people. So we got a busy week. All right, you dirty freaks. We'll see you soon. Bye. Love you.
Olive Garden.
Oh, you did it, you bitch.